Hello. So, in response to your video, I thought I would make my own. Just because also your story really, really resonates with me in some sense. So, I'm going to get into it. But it all kind of started when I was, I think, in high school in secondary five, and me and Alicia, who was my best friend at the time, maybe you know her, uh, it was such a stupid day, but we had both got really into rollerblading. So we started kind of just rollerblading to school, whatever. And then one day, it was it was really unprompted, but at the end of school, but you know where I live, so it's not very close by car. It's about like I guess half an hour drive from downtown, maybe 40 minutes. Unprompted, we're just like, hey, let's let's rollerblade downtown. No big deal. Um, at the time, also, we hadn't eaten much. At lunchtimes, usually we'd like scavenge for money to buy food. We were just, I don't know why we never had lunches. It's not my parents' fault. We just didn't have them. Um, so we just kind of went for it. We started rollerblading to, downtown Montreal for no good reason. And firstly, we were just gravely unprepared. We noticed that, like, first the road systems we didn't know very well, so we kind of like took VO down to Sherbrooke, I believe. Keep in mind these are very busy boulevards, full of potholes, and we weren't. I didn't know how to brake at the time. I didn't know how to brake on rollerblades, so we both didn't. We'd have to like run into poles to stop at lights and stuff, and like this whole ride we're like dodging all the potholes and trying to stay alive, and we're really, really hungry. It was a hot day. We also didn't 100% know which way downtown was, so I think I kind of had an inkling. So we're like, yeah, let's just go down Sherbrooke. We didn't know when it ended, but all to say that was a serious challenge, probably because we were malnourished, to be honest, and then anyway, I remember being really hot, being overcome by what we had tried to accomplish and weren't prepared for. It was so draining and intense. And we got downtown and we had no shoes. We only had rollerblades. I don't know why, but that's what happened. And we had no money for food. We were so hungry. We sat under a church around the bay, and it was starting to rain, and we sat under stairs and just kind of rested like this, like completely dead. And we found we were such bums, but we found change on the floor and bought a slice of pizza for 99 cents that we then shared. It was so hard on us physically, and I don't know, I guess because we were hungry, but it was a really good time. And my mom came, she bought us sandals, and we were able to get on the metro and go home. But I think that incited something in us, and that we found out that we really like that kind of challenge. At least I know I did. And then a couple years later, I mean, we'd always go for kind of lengthy bike rides for whatever, but a couple years later, we were like, let's bike to Bianca's house, who is a friend of ours, and I guess you met Bianca. Bianca lives in Laval. She's technically a 12-minute drive from my house. By bike, this was not the same thing. We thought it would be, I think it was supposed to be a 2-hour bike ride, which is not a big deal. But somehow we made it a 4-hour bike ride, which I'll get into. Again, we kind of tried to plan routes, but I think we took the least efficient route possible. I don't think Google Maps existed at this point. It may have been MapQuest. I might be also really wrong about that, but we just didn't look up what we should do to get there. I just kind of was like, yeah, I know. And yeah, so we started biking. It was also super hot, really, really warm day. Stopped for watermelon at some point. That was nice. continued biking, got to Bianca's house, and this was 4 hours after we had departed. Why? I don't know, but it was long. It was like a good bike ride that we were again ill prepared for because I think we were always just too lax about these things. We get to Bianca's house. Bianca's not there, so that means we can't enter her house or get water or food or anything of that sort. So that wasn't ideal. We ended up finding a park and filled up our bottle with water or whatever. Then it was like, okay, let's try and get home. It was kind of hilarious because we didn't know this, but this was Tour de l'Île or Tour de Nuit, so the night where everyone just kind of bikes around and Montreal blocks off like all of the streets and road networks, which is typically an issue for drivers. If you're in a car, it's hell. You can't get anywhere because like you just don't know where to go and they block up everything. But ironically, it really caused a problem for us because we weren't part of Tour de l'Île, and I guess similar to your conservative and like liberal friend thing, me and Alicia were a bit more conservative and didn't want to break any rules. I mean, you were supposed to have like the little like paper with your number on it if you're part of Tour de l'Île, and we didn't have that because we weren't part of it. So we actually weren't allowed on the metros with our bikes, and we weren't allowed on certain streets because we weren't part of the event. So we bike back to Montreal. We're trying to go back. Actually, no, we tried to get into a metro and they rejected us. And then instead of taking the way we came, which would have probably been a lot better, we went straight to kind of the downtown, not the downtown area, but further west than we should have gone, which was pointed downtown. And once we got into Montreal, I guess we got a little lost. We didn't know where we were going so much at the time. And we ended up hitting all the Tour de l'Île networks and getting stuck, like, I guess not being able to take the routes we would need to take to go home. We were having to go like towards Mount Royal, which is the opposite direction of our home. And at this point, we're like exhausted because we've been biking all day. We continue on. Basically, the rest of the story is us trying to get home, but not being able to because we're being blocked by streets that are there for bikes, which is just, it was so hilarious. Like, it's just so dumb, but that's what happened. And it ended up taking something like, I think 12 hours. It was like in total, it was a 12-hour bike ride. We got home super late, like maybe like 1 a.m, got in ravished. Like we like make so much food, eat all that food, and then die on a couch. And it was such a rewarding day. Like like such a dumb adventure that we made for ourselves in our own city. And I just have such an appreciation for those days. And I guess since learning that about myself, I try now to I guess bike really long distances. I haven't done anything that adventurous in a long time. I mean, adventurous, like gotten stuck in such an adventurous situation, but I still take it upon myself to try and like bike to school, which is like not that bad because I know what I'm doing now, but it's still like a 2-hour bike ride or like hour 40 minutes, depending on how I'm feeling that day. And just because I feel like it's your only goal now is get to school in set amount of time. And it's a little draining, you get tired, and I feel like that's such a good feeling. It does clear your head of everything else you're thinking about. And like, I do think that it's just nice to hear your story and a good reminder that I should definitely do more of that as I've kind of slacked off in the past years. Anyway, I hope you like this video response. This is so cheesy, but I'm really happy I'm doing it. Can't wait to see you. Okay. Bye, Victor.